Welcome to Misfits and Mystics podcast, where we have conversations intersecting faith, mental health, artistry, and social justice. We're so glad you're here. So get cozy.
But not too cozy, because we do keep it real on this podcast.
Listen with care.
And enjoy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very tired, but I'm extremely happy that it's the weekend. Feel like I've been crawling to this weekend.
Yes.
So it's pretty good energy in the air, even though I am so very tired.
Well, you made it, friend.
I did. Listen, I made it, okay? We made it.
We did, because girl.
Because girl.
That's all I'm going to say.
Well, welcome everyone who is listening. As you know, if you have been listening, we have been doing a series on sex this month. And so we're continuing that by talking about something special today. So last week's episode, was about sex, clearly. And after we ended the podcast, Abra and I continued talking and somehow stumbled into the topic of BDSM and Kinks. Don't remember how. Do you remember how?
I don't. I just remember after recording, we started FaceTiming because you wanted to know what Nomi looked like.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a chicken in my street, and the next thing I know, I was eating apple pie. And maybe I asked you about food and sex. I don't know. And
yeah,
then
I remember that being mentioned.
Yeah, I just remember I was eating apple pie and ice cream, and we were probably just having just a check-in conversation. But since we were already on the topic of sex, maybe we were just talking about some personal things just amongst us friends. And then, I don't know, I guess I just started randomly asking you about food and sex. And then that kind of segued into us. I was like, we should talk about kinks.
Yeah.
So
that was definitely a happened upon conversation, but it's good because it literally brought us into our next episode. Well, this episode.
Yes.
So here we are, and I'm excited to talk about it, but I'm also nervous because I did make a comment about how people don't like talking about their personal sexual lives. Like they'll engage in conversation just about general sex, but when it comes to them personally, they shy away from it. And I remember when we were talking, you asked me something. Oh, when we were talking about doing this episode, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna share that information." And you were like, "You just said." And yes, I mean that's still a thing, but I found a way to share without sharing everything. But we'll see where this goes because I feel like, we plan our episodes, but we don't plan the conversation necessarily. Right. We're not reading a script or anything. So knowing you might ask me a question that leads to all the right answers. So I'm a little nervous, but okay. I'm mostly excited. It's okay. I'll try to share as much as I can.
You don't have to share if you're not comfortable sharing.
No, I know that, but I like sharing. That's the thing.
Okay.
So it's just, but I think I'm just used to sharing in more intimate settings, spaces, groups.
We all are. Are.
So it's like getting on a stage and being like, yeah, so this is my kink. Mm-hmm. A little different, but here we are. We're going to do this shit. Let's get it cracking.
All right.
So, but before we get into the conversation, I wanted to play a game that I found called Make Me Admit Stuff.
You and your games, Alicia.
I know. I love games. They're so great. So the game is called Make Me Admit Stuff. So the way this works is you, Abra, you will pick a number between 1 and 68. And you'll also choose A or B.
Okay.
And then I'll read the question and we both have to answer it.
Okay.
All right, let me pull up the questions.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead. Wait, pause. Actually, okay, so if you choose A, then it's 1 through 56.
Okay.
If you choose B, then it's 1 through 68.
Okay.
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 So go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna pick A, and I want the number 14.
14. Bro, why did I just look at that question right before
Oh God.
I picked it? Oh, okay. So A14 says, do you have any kinks? Started out strong.
Wow. Okay. Yes. I mean, I think so. I guess so. I like to watch people.
Okay. Like you're in the room, or you mean like just like porn?
Well, I'm open to watching like people in the room,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously like, well, I don't think I would consider porn a kink. Like I'm not like, yes, I've watched porn, but like it's not like a necessity. And not that I think kinks are a necessity, but like I don't know if I would consider that a kink, but like
Yeah.
and even just without sex, like I like people watching.
Mm-hmm.
So if I like people watching, then obviously I'm like open to the idea of like watching people engage in sexual activities.
Okay.
I don't know. I okay, you go.
So I'm actually going to stay on the line of that since you started that. And I believe, I'm not completely sure, but I believe that I am on the opposite side, that at times I like the thrill of people watching. So I'm the one engaging and people are watching.
Okay.
But I say at times because I also know like there are times when I'm in a certain space mindset and I'm just like, no, this is a very private like thing. If
Yeah.
you're not a part of this, you don't need to be a part of it. But then there are other times where I'm like, that's like, the different parts of me though.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it depends on who I am that day.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, I would probably say the same thing because like obviously I don't want to intrude on people's private time, but
Yeah.
obviously everything that I'm doing is hopefully done with consent on all sides. So, I would hope to be invited to watch, and then the people inviting me to watch would feel comfortable with me watching. So, yeah.
For sure. All right, pick another one.
Okay, let's go with B, and I will go with 60.
You said 60?
Yeah.
Okay. So B60 says, do you wear slippers?
What the heck? Sometimes.
You were hoping for something more.
Right. That was very vanilla, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, it's particularly in the colder months.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I have never really been one to wear slippers, or what I would actually call house shoes. I would never say slippers, by the way.
Right.
House shoes. But my friend has these house shoes, and she got them, I think around, no, it was a little bit before Christmas, but it was like during the winter, last winter. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love these. Mind you, my feet are bigger than hers, but every time I came over her house, I would put my feet in her shoes.
Oh my
And she would
God.
just be like, girl, take off my shoes. And I'm like, but I really like them. They're so cute. They are really cute. Like they're warm and fuzzy inside, and like you can see the fuzziness. But then on the outside, they're like glittery gold. It's super cute. So it's the shoes are like white and gold. And so since I love those so much, she got me a pair for Christmas.
That's
I literally almost cried. Like she got me a bunch of stuff that I like commented on in her house. Like, oh, I really like this. I like this smell. I like blah blah blah. And I've never had anybody do that for me, so I literally almost cried. But anyway, so I have the same slippers as her now. And so I usually wear those. And actually I found that I love wearing them while I drive, like for distance. They're so comfortable to drive in, but also not like bad because, you know, like certain shoes they tell you not to wear when you're driving so you don't get your foot caught in, you know, whatever. It wasn't like that because it is like almost like a full shoe. But unfortunately, one of my babies was wearing them around the house last time I visited them and put them somewhere that made me forget them. So now they're not with me and I'm very upset about it, but it's okay. I'll get them back.
Yes. Yes, you will.
I want my shoes.
That's such such a random shift from like, what are your kinks to like,
I know, right? Okay, let's do like 2 or 3 more.
Okay. I want to get into the juicy stuff. Let's do like A1.
Okay. Oh, so A1 says, what tends to feel better for you, sex or masturbation?
Masturbation.
Okay. I would have to say it depends. I mean, you know, masturbation, I know what I like, what I want in that moment. But it really is a different experience when someone else is pleasing you. And it depends on who it is. Like if you were to ask me would I do masturbation or sex with like a particular person, then I feel like that might change my answer. Well, I'm not saying like one person, but I'm saying like, you know, if you set that up against different people, then it would depend. So I can't just give one answer to that.
Okay. Yeah, like I okay. I feel this kind of goes back to what we were talking about a little bit last week. Like I think it does depend because, well, I want to preface, I've said this before, but for those of listeners that are like jumping around with episodes, like I've only had one experience with one other person when it comes to sexual encounters or whatever. So I would say that like that's difficult for me to answer because obviously like masturbating feels good because you know what you like. But I found it pleasurable pleasing the other person. But it was like pleasurable in a different way than like you getting off. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I guess whatever. I guess it depends on like what feels better. Like it feels different, but it's both like good.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to tell you if you want to get more of the kink questions, you should choose everything from A.
Okay. Well then let's do A27.
It says this is actually not, well, it could be a kink actually. So A27 says, do you care if your partner sees you going to the bathroom?
No.
I don't either. I actually like my ex, we would literally sit in the bathroom with each other. Like, oh, you're pooping?
That's adorable.
Cool. Let's sit here and have whole conversations.
Yeah. That's so
adorable. It was great. Yeah, it was great. I was like, this is a different level of comfort and I'm so here for it.
Yeah, I mean, I pee in front of my friends all the time, and like, I'm pretty sure I've like pooped in front of like closer friends that feel comfortable with that.
Mm.
So, you know, so of course, like I would feel comfortable with my partner. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I feel like I do have times where I'm like, get out. You know, like
Yeah.
if you know it's about to be bad, you're usually like, you should probably go.
Right, right,
But
right.
I feel like I've also had times where like the person has been like, you should probably get out, and I'm like, I don't care. And it
Mm.
can be bad, but like, when you having that conversation and you also just love that person, you just be like, listen, you stink, but I'm trying to talk to you about something, so we just gonna keep talking.
You
So,
know, my roommate and I, one of my old roommates slash best friend, we when we lived together, we used to have conversations while one was in the shower. So like
mhm.
one of us would just stay in the bathroom while the other
Yeah,
showering to continue the conversation. And then sometimes I'd be like, well, I need to like pee really quick. So, just so you know, I'm peeing.
right.
Like, and yeah. And then and then obviously the person, like she would get out or I would get out of the shower and it was, it's just a body. Like it's
Yeah,
not a big deal. So
fair.
I love bathroom time with people.
Yeah, because the bathroom is like one of my favorite places. Like it's a very calm, safe space for me.
Yeah.
And so when I can share that with other people, it's like we really connect because everybody doesn't get the privilege to be in here while
Right.
I'm shitting. So
Yes.
so
So one
let's
more.
yeah, one more.
Um, I want to do a 35.
Okay. So A35 is a good one. It says, have you ever masturbated to the point you got sore?
Oh, I think so. I'm trying to like recall.
Right. That's my answer too. I'm like, I feel like I have, but I can't like be like, oh,
I
I remember.
okay, like not sore, but maybe a sense of feeling numb.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Without saying too much.
Yeah. Um, I feel like I have had the numb feeling, but also I think when I think of sore, it's just like extremely sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I have let me shut up. Okay.
Oh,
So moving on.
wow. Okay, great.
We might get into that later because of our conversation.
Okay.
So we're going to get into our main discussion,
The
which is
meats.
about BDSM and kinks.
Yeah.
I'm going to start out just by giving definitions so that we know what we're talking about and everyone else knows what we're talking about and we're not just talking.
Right.
So, in human sexuality, kinkiness is the use of non conventional sexual practices, concepts, or fantasies. The term derives from the idea of a bend in one's sexual behavior to contrast such behavior with straight or vanilla sexual mores and proclivities. So, that's kink.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked up some types of kinks fetishes, and it's from a website called Glamour, which, probably not like, well, it may have come from a professional. I don't really know, but I just wanted to see what the internet had to say. And so they gave a list, basically saying this could very well be bullshit, but maybe not. They gave a list from A to Z of kinks, so I'm going to read them really quickly. So we have age play, bondage, cuckolding, dominance, electrostimulation, foot fetish, gagging, humiliation, impact play, Japanese bondage, klismophilia, limits, masochism, nylons, objectum sexuality, pregnancy fetishism, queerophilia, I think that's how you say it, role play, spectrophilia, tentacles, urophilia, voyeurism, whip, wax play, yoni egg, and zappers.
Okay. I'm going to admit that I've not heard of most of those things.
Same. I know a few, but
Right.
most of them I don't.
Yeah.
Was there one that like stood out that you like, what is that?
I hadn't heard of, what was it? Clismophilia?
Yeah.
And like, there's a difference between regular bondage and Japanese bondage. is what I'm, nylons, just all of it really.
Okay, well, I can give you the definition for clismophilia and queerophilia,
Okay.
which I don't know if I'm saying the second one right.
Okay.
But clismophilia refers to the receiving of sexual arousal from introducing liquids into the rectum and colon via the anus, which I'm not gonna lie, just pained me a little bit. But yeah, so it says this paraphilia often involves the use of enemas. So like,
okay,
people like that feeling, which
okay.
I want to say I could see how that would be a good feeling, but not like I can't really see because I don't know. But there's that, and then queerophilia is a sexual fetish for hands, which is crazy because if I see a word like that, I would think that it's going to be something so much bigger.
Right.
And that's so simple, which now that I have the terminology for it, I can tell people because I know a lot of women who are turned on by men's hands. I've heard it mostly from women talking about men's hands. I'm sure there are so many people who just
I like hands. I like hands. Is it just, do you know if it's just like the sight of different hands or the feeling of hands?
I'm not sure. Let's look up more.
Because I have a kind of a fixation about hands, but I like holding hands and I like feeling hands and like the different surfaces in the knuckles and like, I just like hands. So I guess like when you asked me earlier, do you have kinks? Like, well, I guess hands. Yeah. I don't know.
So, they just broke it down to a hand fetishism. And it says that this may include the sexual attraction to a specific area such as fingers, palm, or nails, or the attraction to a specific action performed by the hands, which may otherwise be considered non-sexual, such as washing or drying dishes. This fetish may manifest itself as a desire to experience physical interaction or as a source of sexual fantasy. So
okay,
I think it's like they said, specific parts of the hand, but then like how it's used, and they like go on to talk about hand fetishism being recognized by the porn industry, but it's usually just like seen or like focused on when it comes to like hand jobs and
got you,
that type of stuff.
But even when you were saying like even just the attraction in a non-sexual way, like I noticed that like when I'm watching movies or TV shows and they have characters typing or texting, like I really enjoy like watching the hands like type, like the fingers. And like I like when fingers, whether they are masculine or feminine hands, I guess, if they're polished in some way. Like I really like when characters have like dark nail polish and they're typing something. And then I love holding people's hands. So if you've held my hand, not to be a creep or anything, And it's not always sexual for me. Like, let
Yeah.
me put that out there because I'm pretty sure all of my friends are probably like, oh my God, right now. Let me just say that it's not always sexual. It's just like a thing. But I guess it could be sexual, like, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. What about you? Was there anything on the list where you were like, oh yeah, or oh no?
Oh yeah. Um, no, actually, now that I look back at this, I know, or at least have heard of quite a few of them. But then it's like the ones that I don't know, I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do want to know what zappers are. Let me figure out what zappers are. So it says a zapper is a cute nickname for an electro wand that is used as part of electrostimulation. They typically look like a magic wand that Harry Potter would use, except they're used to send shocks to the body. Zappers are frequently used as a part of DS play. I'm pretty sure that they mean dominant submissive play in which the dominant shocks the subs. Though it sounds scary, zappers feel like a little sting, but it is still 100% okay if they're on your hard no limit list. You can still be kinky and cool without zappers. I'd be shocked if they didn't scare you a teeny bit.
Interesting.
It makes sense. I think I've actually seen that before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I was thinking like zap, like, oh, it probably has something to do with shocking people. But yeah. Interesting.
Okay. So that's kinks, and now I'm going to move on to BDSM. So BDSM is an overlapping abbreviation that stands for bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, sadism and masochism. Some BDSM common categories that most people, well, let me not say most people, I know a lot of people have heard of are dominatrix, face sitting. I feel like pegging became like a really big talked about thing in the last like couple years. Um, but other types are brat and brat tamer, daddy, mommy, masochist, degrader, degradee, exhibitionist, switch, boy, girl, master, mistress. Those are just some of them. There's plenty more. And so there is a website where you can take a short or long version of the test, excuse me, to see how you rank in these different categories. We'll put the link out there. But Abra and I took the test, and these results.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, what was your top 2 rankings, and then what were your lowest 2 rankings?
Okay, my top 2, it said switch and voyeur. So a switch is basically someone who, like basically what it says, switches. Like, you're not always the dominant person, but you're not always the like submissive person either. Like, you can kind of go back and forth between the two. And it says that some prefer to switch with the same partner or partners, often have a dominant play partner and submissive play partner, but in either case, they do not fit on one end of the spectrum. So I guess it's that kind of fits like my personality, honestly, because you know me, I'm always like, it depends. I'm down for whatever. So of other people, definitions vary with respect to whether those being watched should be aware of this or not. Voyeurs typically match well with exhibitionists. So those are my top 2. And then my bottom 2 was age player and pet. And I guess I'll read what it said about age players. So age players like to play with age as part of their kink. They typically take on a much younger or older age than they actually are, or prefer playing with a partner that does so. Attributes and behavior changes, such as coloring books, speaking in childlike language, etc., are commonly paired with this to enrich the context and make it more appropriate for the played age. Yeah, I was kind of taken aback by that. And then pets is property of their owner in daily life. Sexuality is not necessarily involved. This role often features some form of animal role play, although that is not strictly a necessity. So I also wanted to put out there like a little side note that BDSM doesn't always have to be sexual, I believe. So, like when they were, some of these like categories, I guess you could say, like they tend to be, say, sometimes like it's not always sexual, but it can be. It just kind of depends on, the person.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, those are my results with top and bottom. No pun intended. Um, yeah, I definitely agree with the top two. Uh, I guess the bottom, I mean, I guess that's why they're at the bottom because I don't really resonate with
Right.
those. So, um, yeah, I like being 27 years old. I want to be 27 years old in the bedroom and the counter and the wall and wherever else we're gonna do it. Yeah, and I like being a human, so there's that. But no shame to anybody who, wants to play in different ways. But yeah, that's just not me.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna move on from here. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, what? Hold on.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
You was trying to see how long you could get away with that.
all right. So my top two. My top two are Switch and Brat, which I have started to admit to people more in like regular conversation that I can be a brat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because of the fact, like you said, it's not necessarily a sexual thing. Like
Right.
I just have. I'm not even gonna say that I'm a brat. I just have a brat in me, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes she wants to come out. And when it happens, when I tell you, it is the funniest thing because I'm so, I feel like I'm calm and like chill and I can be snappy at times, but like it's never really on purpose. But when that happens and I become snappy like that, especially when it has to do with me receiving attention from who I want attention from, like it's just a whole different side of me. And I feel like people are like, what? Almost because like I think because of the fact that I'm so chill, sometimes people think that I don't care at all.
Mm-hmm.
So when I show that I care in that capacity, they're like, whoa, what is this? Like, I thought you didn't care at all. And now you're like yelling at me about not calling you back in a certain amount of time because you want my attention. I'm so confused. But that's me, okay? So it is what it is. So you read Switch already. You had a comment. You had something to say, Abra. I feel like you got some shit to say.
Well, now I think I remember like how we even got into this kink conversation.
What was it about when I was at your house?
Yes. Okay. And okay, it's all coming back to me. Y'all, okay. Alicia came to stay with me over a weekend, and the first night she was here, I said, you can sleep wherever you want. You can sleep in my room, you can sleep in the guest room, you can sleep on the couch. Like, what do you like, where do you want to sleep? And Alicia was like, I will sleep in your room. And then I was like, do you, want to just, I was like, you can have my bed and I can sleep on the couch. Or she's like, no, I'll sleep with you. Um, and so I was like, okay, cool. So we're getting ready for bed or whatever. And I have a bathroom in my room and obviously a closet. And I am just such a chill, like down for whatever. Like, I don't really think much. I don't have these little like pet peeves or things, that just have to be a certain way. So my bathroom door was open and my closet door just happened to be open, probably because I was like looking through it earlier. And Alicia is like getting in the bed and I'm turning off the lights and I'm being the good hostess that I am. I'm like, can I get you anything? Are you good? And Alicia's like, so you're just gonna leave the bathroom door open? You're gonna leave the closet door open? Like, do you have to have that open? And I was like, well, no. I was like, do you want me to close it? And she was like, yes. And made this whole big deal about the doors being open, like all the doors needing to be closed. And she had her blanket and her pillow. Like, she just had all these little nitpicky things. And it was so hilarious to me. But it was hilarious to me because you do have this bratty side. Like, it's not bad or anything. It's not like you're just being a total bitch, but like you're just like, so like I need, like, you have this like neediness about you that can be very bratty. And it was funny to me and it was kind of adorable too, because I was like, oh, like you can't go to sleep until I close all the doors and make sure the monsters aren't gonna get you. Like, I felt so much like you were like my baby for a second. And or like this kid sister that I never had. Like, you kind of are the kid sister that I never had. But yeah, I was like, okay, wow. So yes, when you say that you're a brat, I just cracked up because
you called me a princess when we were having the conversation. You were like, you're such a princess.
You are a princess. I'm gonna get you a tiara.
And you would never know these things until you're in situations like that. Like, you never knew. All these years you've known me, but you've never seen that side because we've never been in such a close space, like intimate space, going to sleep.
This is true.
So yeah, I'm good at hiding, basically. So it says on the site that brats are, in essence, naughty submissives. I just rolled my eyes, by the way. They find disobedience a form of playfulness rather than letting their dominant down, and require a compatible dominant who will not only teach them a lesson, but also, this is embarrassing, but also accept that any number of lessons might still not necessarily change this behavior. Brats typically match well with brat tamers. Anyway, so my bottom two were owner, which says owners own pets, properties, and take responsibility over them on a 24/7 basis. Sexuality is not necessarily involved in some cases. Animal role play attributes are also provided. Owners typically match well with pets, and I am not an owner or a pet. It's not my world. And then the other one was master and mistress, which says that they receive complete control over the life of their slaves and all responsibilities that come with it. They go a step further than dominance in the sense that their power exchange is present 24/7 and in all aspects of their lives. Their primary focus is to create a stable and safe environment for their slave to allow optimal servitude. Masters, mistresses typically match well with slaves. So yeah, do I agree? Yeah, I definitely agree. with my top two. Well, top two and bottom two.
Yeah.
Is this something I knew about myself? Yeah. I feel like it's like fortunately and unfortunately, but like it's not really unfortunately. It's just kind of it's a part of me that I try to well, I don't have to try. It like the brat part specifically like only comes out at certain times or like in certain situations or with certain people. Listen, didn't we talk about like connections before or something like that?
I mean, probably.
Probably.
We talk about connections all the time, so.
I know, but it was something we were talking about like dealing with relationships. I forget what episode it was, but it was something about relationships and like how different people bring out different parts of you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really interesting to see like, you know, especially with the switch part too. I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with me. With like different partners or even in like situationships, dating, whatever. It's really interesting to see who my brat comes out with. And I've had times where the brat has come out and I've been so angry about it and even more angry that I wasn't able to control it. Like, you know, have you ever experienced somebody and they just make you feel a way? Yeah. And I mean, it's in like a sexual, mushy, like lusty, like you just cannot control yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in that situation and I just didn't want that to be a thing. And I didn't like that I couldn't control myself. I'm really big on controlling myself, how I look, how I'm coming off, excuse me, like what I'm saying, like all of that. But if somebody can like see like right through me and they have like that dominance, honestly, and I'll be like, I have no choice but to be submissive, I hate it. Like I love it. It's such a rush, but it's also like this is not supposed to be a thing, especially when we're not even like we don't even have that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I melting just because you're talking to me?
I understand. I
hate this shit.
I understand.
It just made me think about somebody who's actually still in my life. Like we're friends, but like they know that they can do that. So I'm just always like, let me not talk to you as much as possible because you just like to see me like weak. That's great. So anyway. But yeah, I definitely agree. I knew this already. I think I also knew it though because I learned about BDSM some years ago. And so it was more so like this was already a thing, but just put terminology to it that I didn't really know before.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, obviously people when they hear BDSM, they automatically think about like the bondage part of it and like think like Rihanna, S&M, like chains and whips and you know, all of that stuff, but it's interesting to like and I think people associate BDSM a lot with pain. But it's not always about pain. It can be, but not always. And like I said before, it's not even always sexual. And that there's a whole community, like BDSM community out there where like this is a thing, like this is and another thing to emphasize too is I feel like BDSM does a really good job with consent because when you are putting in all these different elements into the situation, then it becomes even more imperative to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And it's unfortunate that the way the media portrays BDSM to be this like borderline abusive, rapey thing, it's really not, which is why I despise the whole 50 Shades of Grey thing because I feel like media depictions like that are not accurate or really displays like a full or broad spectrum of what BDSM is and how it's part of people's lives. Yeah, and it kind of creates this like gray area between that and like just straight up abuse, and that is not yeah, that's just not a thing. I like when I talk to people that are like actually within the BDSM community, like they're always talking about consent and like always talking about safe practices, and actually have like a much more like a better understanding of like their bodies and pleasure, and in ways that like people that are just doing like the vanilla stuff don't. And so I just find that so interesting that like I feel like BDSM is like so scrutinized and demonized a lot of times. But like even like just taking the test, I was like, well, you could like take some of these same concepts and like it not necessarily be within like what we think of when we think of BDSM, but like the role, like even just things like role playing and you know, are you more dominant or are you more submissive? Like these are things that even like people that aren't necessarily into BDSM, it like having that awareness and knowledge about yourself could heighten your like sexual health, you know, and understanding of how you like to receive and give pleasure. So yeah.
For
It's
sure.
perverted, guys. It's yeah, and spoiler alert, Nomi said this in the episode that I'm gonna release after this. You know, she's like, everybody wants to partake in it, but they don't want to talk about it. And a lot of people that are preaching against it are doing it anyway. So there's that. I'm like blinking my eyes. I'm doing that blink my eye thing that I do, but you guys can't see it. So
so how did you feel about your overall results?
I was pretty much on board with it. Like, okay, because like the next top ones, like after Voyeur was like dominant and non-monogamous, and I'm like, yep, that's me. Yeah, I like to be in control. And like I was saying before, I enjoy being the one that's like giving like pleasure, or I guess, you know, dominating the situation. I'm definitely a top. Yeah. And the non-monogamy thing, like, yeah, monogamy's cute. Like if that's what you want.
Cute
That's
though.
cool. It's cute. It's cute. It's cute. It's cool. I'm not knocking people who are like monogamous. I think that's beautiful. I highly respect that. Obviously, like I was raised by two people that are monogamous. But I am not. At this time. Do I have the potential to be monogamous? Sure. If yeah, because we're always evolving and changing, but like as of right now, I am not monogamous. I think monogamy is limiting to me. To me. To me. Let me emphasize that. To me.
To you.
To me. Maybe it's not to you. And like I said, beautiful, cute, great, wonderful. Bless you.
Great gowns, beautiful gowns.
Yeah, but like particularly when it comes to sex, like okay, I guess that makes me a slut, but you know, whatever. Being a slut isn't the worst thing in the world, okay? Because there are like murderers and you know, racists and rapists, you know, and all you got to do is replace one letter.
Right.
And we have one in the White House right now.
But sometimes they're all in one person.
Yes. Not that I'm accusing 45 of being a murderer, but
you never know.
Never know. So I think I'm doing pretty good. Like being a slut. So there's that.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting to me because I've taken this test multiple times. So like you said, we are always like changing and stuff. And nothing is ever like so changed that I'm like, whoa, I became what I like wasn't before. Um, but just to see things move like up and down the list, like mostly for like the upper half, just to see those things kind of like change depending on like where I am in life is really interesting. But yeah, it's pretty much always on the right page.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, should we segue into what started this whole thing, which was food?
Yes. Yes. Let's talk about food.
Okay, because like if you know me, I love food and I love sex. So why not take the two together? So I did some, I don't know, I did a quickie, little research. I don't know. Because as I was eating my apple pie and cookies and cream ice cream, which is the best combination ever, by the way. As I was eating that, I was thinking like, I wonder like about food and sex. So, first of all, everybody when we talk about food and sex, a lot of people just go straight to like aphrodisiacs, which are basically like foods that boost the libido or like can be a turn on, like can increase your, ability to be turned on or, be thinking about sex or whatever. Um, and it's after the Aphrodite, the goddess of love, the Greek goddess of love, which is where they get the word from. So, but I was kind of, on the internet and I found some interesting information about like best food to eat for sex, and particularly with like your sexual health. And one article was talking about how keeping a good circulatory system is essential to sexual health, because if you have a good circulatory system, like you're gonna have better improvements with like stamina and sexual response. So I found that interesting because I feel like we like to compartmentalize the different kinds of health, but this just reaffirmed for me that everything is connected. So if you're healthy physically, mentally, spiritually, then your sexual health is gonna be better too,
Mhm.
So, and it all where this like it was talking about like foods to eat, like to help improve your heart health, basically. And that included a wide range of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, fiber, healthy oils like olive oil or sunflower oil, seafood, nuts, and legumes. So basically, eating a having a well balanced diet, I guess you could say. I don't really like to use the word diet, but like, eating eating habits, I guess, whatever. And then foods to boost your libido, they said oysters, crab, lobster, red meat, pine nuts. Like those were some examples, and they said that's due to the zinc content, which zinc is vital. It's a vital mineral to help with human functions like metabolism, stamina, and regulating testosterone. So, for my men out there, that's super important to, your sexual health is like having regulated testosterone levels and all of that. And then foods to help maintain an erection, they said berries, citrus fruits, grapes, apples, hot peppers, cocoa products, red wine, green, black, or white tea. So I was like, interesting. Um, and then I looked up some aphrodisiacs, and there's an article from Cosmopolitan that listed a bunch of foods. I'm not going to list all of them, and I'll link the article in the episode description so you guys can, read about it later. But some that stood out to me were avocados, because they provide like energy, and the B6, they have like B6 in it, which helps with testosterone production. Saffron, which dates back to Cleopatra, who reportedly bathed in saffron infused milk as a way to, increase like in the libido for her, I guess. Hot chilies, which stimulates nerve endings on the tongue and releases adrenaline and endorphins, which is like needed to be aroused. Strawberries and cherries were like, and bananas and apples, like those were some of the main fruits that they talked about. And they also like made a point to say that whipped cream, while it's not necessarily like there's no minerals or elements within whipped cream that necessarily like contribute to like your sexual health per se. So it's not necessarily an aphrodisiac, but it can be, because a lot of people like to use whipped cream in their sex play, which segues me into an article that I read on HuffPost that talked about why like incorporating food into the sexual experience, or just food in general, why playing with your food is good for your sex life. That was the name of the article, actually. Why playing with food is good for your sex life. And the author talked a lot about like the senses, which I thought was interesting, because I know we were talking about all the senses last week a little bit when it came to talking about orgasms and pleasure. So she said, like, taste, think about how you use your mouth in sex, and while eating, consider biting, using your tongues and lips. So she's kind of talking about how there's like how food and sex kind of go hand in hand, and when you think about it in relation to the senses, like there's similar function. And so when you like can play with your food in that way, you can also play more in sex. So there's taste, and then there's smell. The scent of food and the scent of our lovers can stimulate hunger and desire for both food and sex. Sight, seeing a beautifully presented meal, cakes or food displays, lingerie, naked bodies can stimulate arousal, desire, and yearning for both food and sex. Hearing, the sounds that we make when we see or taste food, the sounds of cooking food, the sounds that we make during sex. Think about it. Aren't the sounds very similar? Yes, they are. I'm thinking about when I was eating that apple pie and the sounds that I was making in response to that good old pie and, other things. Touch, using our hands to explore our food and food preparation, touching on lover's skin or touching our skin. And then, so how do we bring food play, combining food and sexuality into our lives in a mindful and fun way? And she kind of gives some tips, like go buy a chocolate bar, not any chocolate bar. Go shopping for this bar of chocolate as if you were going to choose a lover. Let the chocolate seduce you. Shop around, sniff, handle the paper. Will you be seduced by the chocolate that is a little dangerous sounding, like salt and caramel or hot pepper and dark? Maybe one that is not too sweet. How will you eat it? Will you take it home and make it wait for you, or will you eat it in the store in front of everybody? How will you tear the paper? Will it be slow and seductive, taking your time? Explore it all. Close your eyes and let it melt in your mouth. Then write it all down as if you were writing an erotic story. It's amazing. If you have a partner, read the story to them and tell it to them, or post it in comments. Then do to your lover what you did to the chocolate. Now that's a mouthgasm. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Incorporating food play into your sex life and how they're very similar. I often talk about like mouthgasms a lot. I think I have a mouthgasm almost every day.
From
If
what?
if I'm having a good day, well, because I have to have a good meal, okay? Like at least once a day. And
Okay.
and I live in the South, so good food is not hard to come by down here. So yeah, it's not necessarily sexual for me all the time. I mean, it can be sometimes, I'll admit. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure that I was having a little bit of a mouthgasm like when I was eating that apple pie because it was so good, you know? And like I took my time with it. Like I had foreplay with the apple pie. Like I was I didn't just like devour it. Like I was mindfully eating it. Like I wanted to really enjoy the pie and like was started thinking about like its smell, its texture, how it tastes, like the warmth in contrast with the coolness of the ice cream. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. And it was very enjoyable. And I think like the way that we enjoy our food, like and take our time with our food, like we can also apply some of those same concepts when we're having sex with our partners. Like take your time, explore, communicate that you're enjoying it. Like when I was talking to you, I was like, this pie is so good. Oh my God. Um, like and then like our cravings for food and also our cravings and desires for sex, like how she was saying with the chocolate, like are you gonna wait till you get home to eat it, like so that anticipation, that buildup, that happens like when we're aroused. And like you were saying, like some people, like you just can't control yourself.
Mhm.
Or so are you gonna like when you see your partner, are you just gonna like mount them right then and there? Or are you gonna like let it build up and take your time? And sometimes I devour the chocolate in the store right then and there, and sometimes I wait to take it home with me and have a little fun with it. So yeah, when you think about it, food and sex kind of go hand in hand. So yeah, I'm definitely going to start incorporating or just being more mindful about that as I journey on into my sexual journey and also my journey with food. um, but I will say, like, all the articles that I was reading about food, like, please be safe with your food. So, like, um, some foods are not meant to, like, go inside you. So, like, don't do that.
Wait.
Yeah, like I'm just gonna say it, like don't do that. Like don't put certain things inside you. But you can like play with different food, like like with the whipped cream or like honey or
Oh yeah.
popsicles even. I read something about popsicles, like you can simulate like certain oral things with things like popsicles or suckers or candies, things like that. Um just, be prepared to maybe clean some shit up after. Because I'm thinking about honey and how sticky it is. So maybe you want to
Mm.
enjoy like a nice hot shower with your partner after you have fun with the honey. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are just my suggestions. I'm not an expert on any of this. And I also want to say, if you haven't figured out by now, Alicia and I are not experts. Just we're just talking shit. So yeah.
I need to be more mindful about taking my time eating anyway.
Right. See.
Cause baby, when it's time to eat, it's time to eat. Okay? I'm not saying I'll be like
Right.
scarfing stuff down, but I definitely could slow down, take a few breaths.
See?
However, let me be clear that this is not a correlation to my sex life. Okay.
Okay. We'll see about that.
What?
Well, I was gonna ask you, like, have you ever incorporated food into the sexual experience with someone, or maybe even yourself?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more. Yeah. Um, Mostly just like whipped cream, and I've done chocolate drizzle as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. Anything
Okay.
else,
Yeah.
I feel like those that's about where I'll probably stop. I mean
Mm.
ice, but
Yeah.
yeah. As far as like food, yeah, it's just those two. So I've had regular whipped cream, and then I've also had um alcohol infused.
Mm.
It's good. They got different flavors and everything.
See there? So is there a certain food that you're like that you notice, like, if you're eating and you're like, ooh, I'm aroused, or are there foods that you like to avoid, like when you know, like, okay, I know I'm gonna have sex tonight or today, like, so I'm not gonna eat this?
I mean beans.
Right.
I think that's pretty much it. It's probably
Yeah.
beans. I might think about cheese, but like no, I love cheese and I'm fine.
Hmm.
But beans, you just never know. Like sometimes you're good, and then other times it's terrible. So that's pretty much it. But as far as foods that give me a feeling, mm, I think I think for me it's more so about the seasoning or like the way the food is made.
Hmm.
Cause
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that was like if I was to just eat that just like I mean it's cooked or whatever, but just as is, I would be like, this is not a good experience. But it's like the flavor that's put into it that's the part
Hmm.
that does it for me. When you know when something is really good and you start dancing like
Hmm.
while you're
Yeah.
eating, it's like there's different kinds of dances. Like there's some food that's like, oh, like this is touching my soul. And then there's other foods that's like, oh, okay, this is good. It's more like energy in the shoulders as opposed to like the deep stomach pelvis.
Yes.
You feel?
I feel you.
Yeah. That's pretty much it though.
Cool. Well, this was fun.
It was.
I feel like I learned so much about you.
Lord. You're not going to remember any of this once we're done.
Probably always, because I remember everything. That's not necessarily true, but I can just go back to this recording and, if I need a little refresher, need a reminder. Whatever, Alicia, it was probably more difficult for me to share than you. So, there's that.
Was it?
I don't know. I feel like in that first question I was like, I wasn't ready.
Right.
But hey, I'm naming that even I obviously still struggle with talking about sex. Like, it's easy to talk about it when we're talking about the vanilla stuff and like coming strictly from like I mean, I guess everything is somewhat educational, but like where it's more rooted in like more broad concepts, I guess.
Mhm.
And obviously, like, being the social justice warrior that I am, like, it's easy to talk about, like, we need to talk about consent and bring down like harmful systems and people that perpetuate like bullshit. Like, those things are very easy for me to say. But when it's just talking about like, oh, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, that's still very hard. And I don't know why, other than you know, culture that told us that we had to be ashamed about it. So, yeah, I guess I'm naming my shame. I don't know. You gotta name it before you can claim something else. So, yeah. But that's just where I'm at. But it was fun. It's cute.
What is this? It's cute.
I don't know. It's my thing. So, there we go.
Yes, this was a great conversation.
This week for Shameless Plug, we just want to highlight some resources that have helped us on our journey of expanding our knowledge and opening up dialogue about sex. Some of those resources include sex educators, blogs, YouTubers, podcasts, and articles, and all will be listed in the episode description, so be sure to check that out. And if you follow us on social media, we will definitely be linking those resources there as well all this week. Let us know what you think and feel free to drop us your own list of resources that are helpful to you. So shout out to everyone who's doing their thing, sharing knowledge and educating us about sex and opening up the dialogue.
The song of the week is Freak Nasty by Megan Thee Stallion. Okay. It's a wrap. Y'all ready? Let me scoot back a little bit. Whew. I feel like I'm gonna mess up.
You got it.
I'm running through your nigga house like a Tomb Raider. You gotta pass around, nigga. He a hot potato. I told him eat it or get out. Let's show ultimatum. But stop licking my pussy hard. That shit aggravating. Hey, he ain't mine. I just let him eat me up from time to time. Call that pussy pooty time. Cause I got the running kind. He can't compare me to none of these bitches. I got that Beyonce, that dream girl that listen. Freak nasty. Go a couple rounds, do that dick up in the casket. I ain't wanna take the nigga from me, it just happened. You know I ain't come, boy, if you had to ask me. Freak nasty. Lick on my hand, then I put it in his pants. Get to playing with that cock and make that motherfucker bam. And I walk and I talk like a pimp, cause I am. Hey. Yes, Megan. Yes. My girl. I love her so much. She makes me happy.
Yes. I know that's one of your faves. Good job, Alicia. Good job.
Thank you.
Because I was just going to be like, I might be bad, but I'm perfectly good at it. But that song kind of triggers me. So, I'm going to stop.
Okay.
All right. Well, bye.
Bye.
We want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. Continue the conversation with us. Develop a community with other misfits and mystics like us, and get your latest updates on Shameless Plugs and other news by following us on social media. We are on Instagram at Misfits and Mystics Pod, Twitter at Misfits Mystics, and we also have a Facebook page that you can like and share. Want to reach us directly? Shoot us an email at misfitsandmysticspod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, and with your permission, we might give you a shout out on future episodes. Don't forget to subscribe on whatever streaming service you're using to stay up to date on newest episodes being released. Leave us a review on iTunes to help us gain more visibility. Plus, we appreciate the feedback.